I've been reading up on Aristotle's cosmology recently, and it led me to his Nicomachean Ethics that I have not really been reintroduced to for a few years now. And this reminded me of what he was talking about with friendship. And so I looked into what was going on with his friendship because he has two chapters wholly devoted to friendship. And in the first type of friendship, there's three types of friendship according to Aristotle. There's the one that is the friendship of utility. There's two that is the friendship of pleasure. And three that is the friendship of virtue. And if I were to wager how many women view men in regard to not even friendship, but just romantic spouses, I would venture that less than 1% of them truly view their spouse as a romance of virtue. Most of it is a romance of utility. Most of it is a romance of pleasure. But overwhelmingly, I would say that most women would organize men in regard to how they organize themselves to put themselves around men so that they can be of utility to the women. And when men show that there's not much utility involved, women will ghost men. And if there's pleasure involved, when women see this as a romance of pleasure rather than a friendship of pleasure, I'm just borrowing the terms here of Aristotle. Well, maybe not borrowing, but just adopting them for a new framework and a new type of framework in regard to romance. Women will ghost men, and they are ghosting men more than ever before, and I believe it's because women view men as a form of pleasure or utility. They don't see men as virtuous. They don't really see men as people. And that's the truth. A lot of women want to be seen as people, but they don't want to see men as people. They just don't. A lot of them don't. They cannot truly understand what it means to live as a man. They do not understand the struggle. They do not understand why men have to do what they do. And it's only when they are in their 30s or 40s or 50s and they've tried the independent route for 20 plus years that they begin to see that the futility of their actions are compounding on itself. They are on a collapsing timeline and they don't even realize it. And this leads men to just want to ghost women. This doesn't lead to anywhere good for anybody, really. And so the issue then lies in both men and women seeing each other as forms and romance of utility, or romances or forms of pleasure. Now, there's not really anything wrong with relationships that have utility, right? Because in business, for example, or with networking, or with any type of thing where there's a utility, there's a sense of utility, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have that. Whereas with the pleasure, again, it's not a bad thing to have that. The guys that I play racquetball with every now and again, and I'm coming down with something, I think. I've got a little bit of a stuffy nose and a little bit of... I had a scratchy throat. I don't have a scratchy throat anymore, but I've got some apple cider vinegar and lemon tea that I'm drinking, so bear with me. I think we'll be okay, but, I go all out. Whenever I start to feel even just a little bit of the sickness, I get all the garlic. I get the garlic and honey. I get the apple cider vinegar and lemon tea, and I just go to town. And I also have some cut up onions that I'll put here. I cut up some onions And that's supposed to like draw out whatever the toxins are. But anyway, you guys get the point. Point is that what the guys that I play racquetball with every now and again, these are friendships of, or relationships of pleasure. We just play racquetball. Sometimes we literally don't even say a word to each other. We just go in, we nod to each other, and then we start the game. And then on our way out, we just, all right, see ya. That was fun. Then we go on our merry way. We don't really talk too much. And honestly, I don't really mind that. I don't mind that at all, because it makes the understanding of like, yeah, we're just there to play hard and have fun and make it a competition and then go home and do our thing. Like that's just what it is. I like that. I don't mind that. But when it comes to women, I've never really met a woman that was everything I needed to be in regard to her being virtuous. Most women don't even know what virtue truly is anymore. And I'm not someone that hates women. Of course not. I'm someone that really loves women. And I love the feminine spirit. And I know that there are good women out there. But I'm sick of saying that. I'm sick of saying these things to try to justify it's so subtle, because you're almost justifying to yourself, you're almost gaslighting yourself to believe that, oh, well, all of these toxic behaviors that you see on a day-to-day basis, it's never, right? Like it's not all of them. You know what? Like I've met good women, but I haven't been around them long enough to really know if they were good women, right? Like you don't really know if a woman is good and virtuous until you see how she behaves in multiple situations. And that takes sometimes a long time. And so it's just baffling to me when I see all of these women claim to be so righteous and good. And I don't think it's a coincidence that many of the women that were on Bonely cans are now moving toward Jesus Christ. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I'm not quite sure, I don't think it's a psyop necessarily. I think it could be a psyop, but I don't think it's a psyop. I think what it is that they're gravitating toward Jesus Christ because they believe they're still in the external world. Like they don't have an internal world. They've given their internal world away. And in order to really be aware of the Creator, you have to be aware. You have to be aware. Awareness is, in of itself, the thing that's going to make you responsible. And I like being responsible. I hate it, but I like being responsible because I know that my wins are my wins, and I know that my losses are my losses. What I don't like is when I'm deceived or I'm backstabbed or I'm taken advantage of, etc. And now I have to lose for no real reason, all because someone else, I guess technically you might say that I put my trust in the wrong people, right? But the thing is like, is that on me? You know, is that on you? Like if you put your trust in the wrong woman, is that on you? I mean, in one way, yes, but in another way, no. Because maybe this is a bit too idealistic. And, you know, maybe it is, right? Maybe it is. Because I'm definitely not negating the fact that you shouldn't be held accountable for your mistakes. But what I'm saying is that women shouldn't be this entitled either. They shouldn't be, we shouldn't be able to live in a society where people can get over on each other so easily. What is with people? Ghosting is now in replacement of virtue. Ghosting has become the norm. Ghosting, why is everybody ghosting? nobody can truly be aware in the moment with their words. It's like people have to emotionally regulate themselves by causing you a lack of communication and a disruption to your nervous system. Like they have to regulate themselves. And this is what a lot of women do. A lot of women have to regulate themselves by trying to tear you down. And this is something that weak men do as well. But we're talking specifically about women in this. This is something I also cannot stand about our society. It's like, oh, well, men do that too. It's like, well, yeah, but we're not talking about fucking men right now. We're talking about the women. Okay, we're talking about the women. When are we going to see that this, I genuinely think that people pleasing comes from the male's desire to have procreative opportunities with a mate. I genuinely think that, because the women wouldn't even know how to people please if that really wasn't the case. They wouldn't know. They would just want to help. They would just want to be what we need them to be. But women don't want to be what men need them to be anymore. And I was having a conversation with someone on X the other day, and they were saying that, oh, maybe it's on me to really figure this out. And I said, look, I can only lead a woman or I can leave her. And I've aimed to be everything that I need to be. Am I perfect? Do I have it all figured out? No. But I have a godlike mastery mindset that, yeah, it can get close to breaking. But I'm going to be able to just bend any way I need to so that the universe, the multiverse, whatever you want to call it, the way you see this simulation, can bend to my will. But I'm not doing it in a way that's like I'm selling my soul to bend reality to my will. That's not how reality works. I mean, you could do that, but I'm not going to do that. I still have things that I am aiming to do and wanting to do with this life, and I do have ambitions, and I do strive for power. Because who wants to not do great things? By the time Alexander the Great was my age, which is 29, he had already begun his conquering. And we remember him. Now, do I think that being remembered is the ultimate goal here? No. Because I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, oh, well, if I died tomorrow, what would my inner circle remember of me? What would the Regal Change Academy, what would my brand Regal Change, all the Regal Change old timers that have been around for a while, what would they remember about me? And then I thought to myself, what a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. Who cares if you're going to be remembered? Who cares? It's about whether or not you're giving life and information back, and you're sharing. Like, okay, think about cells in biology. Think about cells. Well, what does the cell do in order to multiply? It divides. So you have to divide whatever it is that's internal to multiply into the external. That's what a cell does. And so what I'm aiming to do, to the best of my abilities, is to multiply what's internal by dividing something internal. And that means that, like, I am aiming to revolutionize the way that we view psychology and spirituality. And in order to do that, I have to be on the line between madness and genius. And I believe I'm on that line because I've been very much so tested recently. And even with this sickness that's mildly developing, it's not really much. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but just enough to see the difference, right? Because I don't have a fever or anything just yet. Again, I don't have a scratchy throat anymore. Yesterday I did just a little bit, but nothing crazy. And now just a little bit of the sniffles. You know, nothing crazy. But it's enough for me to realize that I need more recovery time right now. I need more recovery time. And yet at the same time, I don't feel as though I have the time to recover. And it's not like I don't want to recover. I want to recover, but I have things to do. I have deadlines. I have deadlines in the timeline. I just realized that. Yeah, you have things to get done and achieved in certain timelines and time frames. Because if you think about it, right, like time is really the best way that we can measure the virtue of anybody. And if you look at the women's time as a whole right now, like I love women, I just don't love what they become. Where ghosting is normalized and they're entitled, and the way that they behave is just, they just want you to want them and they don't know why. Or they just see you as a pleasure object. That was something that I was not prepared for. When you almost become like a sex symbol, and you don't even have to be like the most attractive guy in the world to be that, right? Like you don't have to. That was another thing that surprised me. You don't have to be the most attractive guy in the world to be a sex symbol to women. And why is that? Well, because it's about your spirit. It's about what's inside. That's what women want. They want your energy. They don't want you all the time. And then I would venture to say that women in general, they don't want you. They want your energy. But they're entitled to it nowadays. And they expect you to have these, I don't know, they just expect you to have it all together all the time and be everything all the time. And I think that's one thing that even with social media, I've recognized, because I was thinking to myself, I don't feel like I can't be vulnerable, but it feels like being vulnerable is almost a hindrance to my own authority with people. Because they expect you to never have problems. But then when you never have problems, they treat you as like an idol. And I don't like either of those options. And so I've had to find a balance in sharing my vulnerabilities without them losing. Because nobody has it perfect, guys. Nobody knows what they're doing. I'm convinced of this. We're all lost. And people will say, oh, well, I'm not lost. Okay, if you are not lost, let's see how great your life is and how great everything's panned out for you. Because you just know the secrets of the universe in such a way that you can really and do anything and everything you want. You face no struggle. Everybody's got a struggle, man. Nobody really knows where they are. They just know where they want to go. And that's the difference. There are people that know where they want to go, and there are people that don't. And the people that don't are mostly weak men, and generally 90% of women in my experience. So really the main thing that I wanted to get across in this video is to establish and recognize what kind of relationships do you have, and are they relationships of utility, pleasure, or virtue? And with all that being said, stay blessed. Peace. Until next time.